Today we are going to start with a new topic which is on experimental stress analysis. And you see here we have this 4 slides. First one, the experimental stress analysis, the various methods available there, or at least some of them will show you. And this is our major topic which we will be discussing, this particular method of measuring stress through strain gauge. Okay. And then the description of strain gauge we will cover in this particular slide, followed by the measurement circuit. So, strain gauge is the sensor part which sends strain induced in a particular stressed body, and from the measured strain we find out what is the stress. So, this is the method of experimental stress analysis through strain measurement which is carried out by using strain gauge. And to measure strain we require a circuit, an associated circuit as the measurement unit. So, this has to be discussed as well. This we will discuss in another lecture, and finally we will demonstrate the technique through an experiment, okay, through an strain gauge experiment. Okay, so this is the content of our experimental stress analysis. Here today we are going to discuss about this particular one. Okay, the particular slide, this is downloaded here. Okay, so let me open from my computer here, and let us present this. Now you see this part of our experimental stress analysis. Okay, this we are discussing after our discussion on this analysis of stress, then there was analysis of strain, then their relation, stress strain relation, material property, generalized Hooke's law, etc. And theories of failure part we have also discussed. Okay, this failure theories is basically the starting point of another 2 theories, theories of fracture, fatigue, etc., and theory of plasticity. This part is not included here. And then some application of these techniques we have shown for this stability problem, column stability problem, and an axial loading of a bar. Okay, beam bending problem we didn't discuss, or other type of problems are also there which we didn't discuss. And we have solved these problems through the application of energy method, which is a special case of a variational method. So, that part also we didn't discuss here, the variational method as such. Okay, so now today we are going to start with experimental stress analysis, out of which we will be discussing mainly on electrical, or you can say the resistance strain gauge, which comes under this electrical strain gauge. Okay. Other types are there, optical, mechanical, and the special type of strain gauges are there which are known as strain rosettes. So, this part is basically strain gauges are sensor part, and we require a circuitry as well for measurement part. Okay. Further there are recording and some digitization of those records, data acquisition, etc., which also is not a part of our discussion here, but this you require further to an experiment. You need to carry out an experiment nowadays, you require these things as well. The theory of photoelasticity, this we are not going to discuss here, but this is an essential part in experimental stress analysis. So, the thing is, experimental stress analysis was not the major concern in this particular course. We mainly focused on the analytical part of stress and deformation. Okay, the experimental part of stress and deformation analysis. As you understand that we are only limiting in 4 lectures here. Okay, so we cannot cover entire part of the experimental stress analysis. And you will find that in other institute they have dedicated courses on experimental stress analysis. You follow those things even in NPTEL course. You are aware about NPTEL courses. There you will get some lecture topics on experimental stress analysis as a full-fledged course. Okay, so let us go into the details of it. So first part is, you see, the basic concept of measuring system. Okay, so that and causes and types of experimental errors. This part we will be discussing first before going into the techniques of stress measurement. So this part, basic concept of measuring system and associated problems here, they are dealt with in a subject which is taught in our undergraduate courses as a measurement system. Have you undergone through that course? Measurement systems, measurement, instrumentation and measurement, right? Okay. So this part is basically a description of that subject. Okay. So you are already aware about that thing. Okay. So here, what is a simple model for a measurement system or simple instrument model? There has to be some sensors, right? Actually, this measures some physical quantity there, which is the basic starting point of any measurement system. We have to use a sensor. The sensor needs calibration. Okay. Then we get an output from this sensor, which is now processed through an instrument. Okay. So what is an instrument? This is a device that transforms a physical variable. What does it mean? Physical variable means the output of the sensor provides, okay, this physical variable to the instrument. Okay. So input part to the instrumentation is the sensor, which provides the physical variable of interest. This can be of various types, which are shown here. Okay, these are the inputs. Might be force, length, temperature, whatever. Different types of sensors are there for different physical variables, physical quantities. Okay. And from this input to the instrument, it transforms into a suitable form for display and recording. That means from which we can make the measurement and we can store it as well. Okay. So this output part is the measurement and the input part, which is the measurement. Okay, this part is clear. Now here the type of sensors are of 2 types, active and passive. We will see what it is. Now sensor requires calibration. Now this sensor gets input from the physical system. We have just seen what are the physical systems. Now there is a scope of error coming to this signal. Okay, so what are those possibilities? Those are some interfering input signal, some modifying input signal. These are part of error which we need to eliminate from the signal we require from the sensor, from the required signal from the sensor. This is one part. Then associated with every sensor and with every measurement system, there is an accuracy and there is an error part. So, what error part is understood. What are the sources of error which can come, and accuracy part is the measure or the minimum value of the physical quantity which the particular measurement system can capture. Like for an ordinary balance, it can measure up to a kg. If you go into a grocery shop, probably they will measure up to 100 gram accuracy, right? If it is a balance for ordinary application, there you might get, say for a fruit salad or something like that, which gives you accuracy up to 10 gram. A physical balance, laboratory balance will give you up to 1 gram or some more accuracy will get, decigram sort of thing. Now in our laboratory we will get some balance which will give you an accuracy of milligram. Now understand what is meant by accuracy and the error. Sensor means where your measurement unit and the sensor, everything is coupled together. That sensor fusion is that part. The sensor itself does the sensing and it gives the required measurement from that particular unit as well. Okay. So there are various components of a measurement unit. So that part is integrated in this sensor fusion part, and then the final estimation is also another calibration part. Okay. Or you can say we get some result, we need to validate that result. So that way, initially the sensor requires a calibration for the purpose of sensing, and then overall for the whole system we require another estimation whether the measurement system including everything is correct or not. Okay. Now this is the instrument model as such, where the sensor has the function of converting the physical variable input into a signal variable output. That part we understood. Then signal variable have the property they can be manipulated in a transmission system. Right? That you understand, sensor is attached to the physically to the object which is our measurement basically. And then the measurement unit, the instrument, this is in a separate location. So that sensor is connected with the instrument usually through some wire, electrical wire, or by some other means also it is possible, whatever. Okay. So that transmission system is a part of our measurement unit. Then what is the form of this output signal from the sensor, signal variable output? Usually it is voltage, or it might be a current, or say charge, etc., whatever, depends on the type of sensor. Okay. Now in electrical circuit, voltage is common, signal variable, mechanical system, displacement and force, whatever, but they are converted into some electrical signal ultimately. This output can be displayed, recorded and input secondary device or system, or which can be a computer or other thing also, where you can carry out post processing on these results. Okay. Straight away you can process that. Now the sensors are of two part, which is a passive and active sensor. So passive sensor, it requires some energy which is provided by the measurement circuit as such. okay, provides some energy to the sensor for the measurement purpose, or the physical system itself, okay, it has some energy which induces some signal variable output in this sensor. So, for example, the pressure force, the pressure, the displacement or force, these things, they produces this signal variable which we take as the output of the sensor. And active sensor is basically which generates some energy, okay, to the measurement environment. For example, there are piezo crystal. Okay, so this piezo crystal, if they are provided with a charge, they vibrate, or when they are in a vibrating system, when they are attached in a vibrating system, they themselves generate some charge. Okay, so that is one example of our active sensor. By itself, it is generating some charge. But for example, for strain gauge, you need to provide some input to that strain gauge, some electrical signal to that strain gauge for the purpose of measurement. So that is a passive sensor. Strain gauge is a passive sensor. Okay, so this is the model. There is physical system, the measurement, from which we have a sensor which takes the physical measurable variable. These are the variables, inputs to the sensor. Then this is the transmitter part, signal variable. From sensor to the measurement unit, there is the transmission line or something, and this can be an analog device, where usually this is a analog type of device, not digital, usually a scale sort of thing. And nowadays what can be done is that these signals, they can be digitized. Okay. Now, one thing you must note, that the output from the sensor, this is always analog. Okay. And then analog to digital conversion can be carried out in any stages, but the conversion, this is analog to digital conversion. Okay, now you see, this lower part is the digital instrument model. The top one is analog instrument model, which is simpler. And what are the additional part here in digital signal model? Here we carry out an analog to digital conversion, but this requires sufficient voltage, or you can say the power also, for carrying out this analog to digital conversion. So we require an amplification of this signal variable. Okay, why this is so? Because the output voltage, or whatever form it is there, this is quite low. Directly as received from the sensor, this is quite low, usually millivolt or some 10 to the power minus 4, 5, 6, this part of change in resistance. Okay, even if this is a charge unit, this is some fractional of a charge unit, which is Coulomb, like that. Okay, so this is amplified first. Sometimes this amplifier is there within the sensor itself, or immediately afterwards the sensor, because this transmission line itself, okay, it involves some losses. So depending on the nature of our sensor, we make amplification, which is basically an analog amplification, probably in connection with our earlier discussion on FFT analysis, we have discussed about this part, right? Amplification, then there are some filtering operation, etc., etc. So that part is always there in between. And then finally, after amplification, we carry out a digital conversion, which now can be stored directly in computer, now which can be displayed in digital output format. This can be stored in memory also. So this part is basically that recording and indicating devices, digital interfacing, data acquisition, processing, and this part is here in this part after analog to digital conversion. Okay, so this is basic model. Okay, this is basic model of measurement system. Now, this is common physical variables, and what are the output variables? Signal output variables are this voltage, displacement, current, force, pressure, light, frequency, whatever. This can be used as output signal, output variable. Now, for any signal output from a sensor, there is a particular range in which we can make the measurement. Okay. So usually this is provided by this calibration curve. Okay. This is the calibration curve for the sensor. Okay. So what is the usable range? How we define sensitivity of a sensor? This is basically the change in output corresponding to unit change in the input variable. Okay. Or say if dx is the change in input variable, corresponding output change is ds. This slope of this curve becomes ds dx becomes the measure of sensitivity. So this is true for every sensor. We have a sensitivity, and so long this sensitivity remains constant, this much we use as the working range of our sensor. Now our interest is measurement of strain. We will be discussing about strain gauge. So a particular strain gauge has such a calibration curve. There also we will see up to which range it is linear, and that will be our working range of a strain gauge. Signal variable is known as calibration of the sensor. Fine, the accuracy is defined as the difference between the true value of the measurement and the measured value indicated by the instrument. Now, typically the true value is defined in reference to some absolute or agreed upon standard. What does it mean? When, say, in a gross sense, when we measure a length, we use a meter unit. Okay. Then for measuring mass, we use kilogram as a standard. So whole thing is this measurement, whatever be the quantity or something, it requires a reference quantity. You know about the standard meter or standard kilogram, where it is stored. Okay, so that is international level standard. Now every country has its own national standard. Even in India also we have national test house. Okay, where these standards are kept. Okay, so now based on those standards, there are again a second level of standard which goes into the regional test houses, right? So in Kolkata, in our city itself, we have a national test house. Anyway, you might not be knowing, but it is there, nearby to our institute also. Okay, for different quantities, chemical quantities, electrical quantities, mechanical quantities, there are these standard test houses. So what they do, they do certification of another standard which we use in the market. For example, your grocery store, it uses a balance. That balance need to be certified by those test houses. That you must know about these things. Okay. So this is how the whole measurement system it goes on. In a laboratory setup, the standards for measurement is different. For ordinary application, the standards are different. This is true. So this typically the true value is defined in reference to some absolute or agreed upon standard. This is what is meant by that. Okay. And then there are some quantities which we can define naturally. Okay. Based on nature, if there is some thing which can be measured, that is fine. That is also possible sometimes. Okay. Now what next? Now next part is those errors, modifying and interfering inputs, which are the errors. So where from they are coming, this is shown here. This sensor here, it gets some input from the measurement. This physical variable is the required signal which it should provide as the output or the signal variable. But while measuring physical variable, it can take up some interfering input, okay, which is unintentional, but it is coming along with this physical variable. The sensor cannot make out how to eliminate this interfering input from the physical variable. So one way is some filtering technique. So that again requires some knowledge about the physical variable which we are going to measure. Whatever some detailing is there, requires some domain knowledge in that particular area. And then there is some modifying input which is now acting in the sensor itself. Okay. A common example of this modifying input is, say, a magnetic field that can create some spurious signal, okay, or that can induce some voltage. Another modifying unit is, say, temperature. Okay. So the temperature difference will affect the signal variable. As you know that this temperature is basically contributor to modifying input as well as in interfering input also. If the physical body is subjected to a temperature change, then it will also induce some error in this physical value input. So these are errors which we need to correct somehow in our measurement system. Okay. Then in the transmission system there is a possibility of noise. Okay. Not in the sensor part, during the transmission there is possibility of some noise. This is some environmental noise. Okay. You know, for sensitive instrument which require isolation from the environment, such that the vibrations of the environment that can affect your measurement. So that sort of thing is there. Not to apply poor quality by using estimation or whatever the techniques and other things, this we are not going to discuss in much detail here. Okay. Rather, let us go into the techniques, okay, for strain measurement. Now, in strain measurement, there are many techniques, okay, out of which we will be discussing about electrical one, and among the electrical also there are many types like resistance strain gauge, there can be capacitive strain gauge, there can be other types, whatever. We will be discussing in detail about the resistance strain gauge. And again in resistance strain gauge there are foil type, there are wear type, etc., etc. We will be discussing about foil type of strain gauge. Only this is what we are focusing here, right? And then the mechanical strain gauge is not discussed here. Usually it should have started with a mechanical strain gauge. You are aware about extensometer that we use in universal testing machine. So usually those extensometers are mechanical strain gauges. Okay. Then optical part we will see its photo elasticity or those things. This is an important one part. Other techniques are also there which comes under mechanical strain measurement, like some brittle or some lacquer type of material is painted. So those type of techniques are also there. Let us first discuss briefly about them. This rosette analysis is a special type of this strain gauge analysis. Okay. Now here we are discussing about types of electrical one. Okay. Rosette analysis is also part of electrical strain gauge. The other types of electrical strain gauges are the semiconductor strain gauge. Okay. Let us see what is there in resistance strain gauge. Here this goes to the transmission line. You see these wires. Okay. This is the sensor unit. The basic sensor unit is shown here. This is known as the strain gauge. Foil type strain gauge, the details we will discuss afterwards. So only this base width, and here we have a base length. So you understand this length and width, this part is our basic measurement unit, where we have some location for soldering some wire. Okay. And these wires, they go into the measurement unit. This is the sensor part. Which one is the sensor part? Follow this line. This is basically, this is not a wire, it is part of this laminated, or part of which from the laminated sheet is etched out. So whatever is there is a form of wire which is known as a foil strain gauge. So there is a metal foil. It is not a continuous foil, but it is shaped like this. Okay. So the detailing we will discuss afterwards. So this is resistance type strain gauge, comes under electrical. Then there is semiconductor, where between these two, okay, the connecting wires or connecting strips, we have a semiconductor device. Okay. So this is not much in use, semiconductor strain gauge, and not widely used in experimental stress analysis. Actually, they are used for special purposes because they have very high sensitivity. What is sensitivity? That part we have already discussed, right? Now you understand, if the slope is very low like this, it has a quite low sensitivity. Actually, resistance strain gauges, they are not much sensitive. Value is usually 2, around 2 is the value. Whereas for semiconductor strain gauge, it can go up to 40 or 50. That's level of sensitivity is possible from this semiconductor strain gauge. But their use requires much elaboration, etc., and that is why they are not commonly used for ordinary strain gauge application. Next part is capacitive. This is also not a very common one, but somewhat they are used in some strain applications. Okay, this is a new development. Okay, not yet very standardized. It is regarded as an alternative to conventional strain gauge for use at high temperature beyond the limit of metal strain gauges. Okay, whatever. So here technique is somewhat different. You understand that these two plates are attached with again two seals of different curvature, and if this ends, they get stretched or compressed. Then the gap between these two plates, okay, which are basically capacitor layers or ceramic plates. As this gap will change, the capacitance between them will change, which will be measured in this capacitive strain gauge. Then there is piezoelectric strain gauge. You understand here the basic element is a piezo crystal. Here this is a wire like foil, metallic foil is the element. Here the semiconductor element is, I think here we have a capacitive element. In piezo crystal, in piezoelectric type, we have a piezo crystal. In connection with vibration measurement, earlier in our experimental cantilever beam vibration experiment, we have discussed about this accelerometer, right? So, piezo crystals, and recall that we had accelerometers in cantilever beam experiment.
Yes.
Okay. Again, in another application in non-destructive testing, we used some ultrasonic flaw detector where you used piezo crystal. So, those piezo crystals, they can be used as strain gauge also, but usually they are meant for dynamic type of applications, because piezo crystals, they sense that vibration. Okay. Okay. So, you know, basic principle is, if you, this is a crystal from barium titanate or some other materials are also there, the quartz or crystal of these things, you apply some charge across that quartz, it will vibrate, where it is used as a ultrasonic wave generator in our NDT testing. Or if this quartz is put under vibration, okay, then it will generate some charge across the layers of the opposite ends of that crystal. This is the principle here. Okay, and this is another technique which is brittle coating method. What is used here, done is, say in unstressed condition, we apply a paint like thing, okay, to the object which will be stressed afterwards. For example, here this figure, they are the blades, compressor blades. Okay. So, initially when they are in rest, these blades are painted. Okay. Okay. And when they are rotating, under rotation, they will suffer some stresses and corresponding strains. Okay. So, that strain will produce this type of crack on the brittle coating. Now, the image shows the concave surface and the convex surface of a particular blade. That particular blade was painted by this brittle coating. After operation, this is what is observed. So, this gives some idea about the stress pattern in which this particular blade was subjected. So, here this is not a quantitative measurement, but some sort of qualitative measurement we can do by this technique. This is a photoelastic technique. Whatever, nowadays there are digital photography, so the technique has much potential nowadays. This is the principle where we have a polarizer, other things are there. Whatever, by itself it is a separate topic which we are not covering here, photoelastic method, but it is much useful method. Okay. Then these are rosettes. Okay. This again is a type of resistance strain gauges, okay, arranged in some way. We will be discussing somewhat about this strain rosettes, different types of them, and this is a non-contact measurement. Understand, this is mainly required for measuring something on rotating machine. Because if we have a sensor mounted on a rotating object, say for example like this, if we attach a strain gauge on this plate, instead of this brittle coating technique, if we attach some strain gauge here, how can we measure the signal from there? Because this compressor blade is rotating and we require a wired connection. How that wired connection will come out from this strain gauge if we attach it here? There is no possibility. Okay. So we require some other techniques to make such measurements, which is a non-contact measurement transmitter. Okay. So this is one. Now this part is something which is static, but a part of this is connected with the shaft. It has two parts. One part is rotating inside it. Okay. These are special types. Usually, there are some mercury dipped contact surfaces through which some signal we can take out from the stationary part. Usually they are mounted at the end of the shaft. Okay. Or there can be some radio transmission sort of thing. That is also possible. So these are different types of measurement techniques. Now our focus is mainly on this, which is electrical resistance strain gauge, which we will be discussing next. This is the preliminary lecture on experimental stress analysis techniques. The reference books, this is where is Dueblin's book? This is the Dueblin's book. Right? You have gone through this book, Measurement Systems. Right? In your course, you studied from this particular book. This is the general methodology. For any measurement system, this is what we follow. And for experimental stress analysis, this is one of the oldest book, or sometimes it is considered as the Bible of experimental stress analysis, because that was written usually one of the first books in this topic. Nowadays there are many other books available. Okay, so this is the introductory part of our lecture. We will stop here and next we will discuss